this video tutorial, we're going to be learning about v4. In my last video, we went ahead and we modified the Hello World component, which was provided to us by Vue, and we learned how to replicate or reuse a component multiple times. In this video, we're going to learn how to clean this up a little bit by using a directive in Vue called v4. The first thing I want to do to make things a little less confusing is I'm going to rename this Hello World component because it's not really being used for Hello World anymore, and we're going to call this component, let's call it the cat card. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to call it cat card. All right, and you can see I broke everything over here. That's fine. We're going to fix that in a second. We'll rename it over here. We'll call it cat card. We're going to save it. And then we're going to go into our app.vue, and as of right now we're importing Hello World, but let's go ahead and fix that, and we'll do cat card. I'm going to rename it here cat, we'll do it lowercase, cat card, and then we want to import it correctly, cat card, and then up here I'm going to use the kebab case. We'll switch over to cat dash card. It automatically populated that for me. We'll paste it here, we'll paste it here, and we'll paste it here. And I'll save, and all right, cool, everything's working. I just wanted to do that. It's a little less confusing with the naming of things. This component is going to be a card that contains information about our cats. So now that we got that all set up, let's go ahead and dive in and experiment a little bit with the v4 directive. Now, as you can see, we have cat card, cat card, cat card, cat card, with a little information on each one. Vue has a directive called v4, which is actually the same thing as a for loop. So wouldn't it be nice if I could just say repeat this component right here as many times as necessary and just pass in this information? We could actually reduce the amount of code right here and just say loop through this and paste in the data for each individual cat. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to use v4 and we're going to create a list. In order to create a list, we're going to pull all this information up here out. We're going to put it down here into data. Now I want to jump over to Vue's website just to show you where this is coming from, Vue JS. We're going to go to Learn, Guide, and at the bottom down here we have Components Basics. So we've already done the reusing a component in my last video. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a link up there, and we've just duplicated the same exact component. Now we want to add data to the component, and as we can see, Vue says data must be a function. When we defined the button center component, you may have noticed that data wasn't directly provided an object like this. So they're talking about the way that they used it up here. We didn't use any data in our original example, but we're going to go ahead and drop it in now. And according to the official docs, they say data must be a function. And this is how they're showing it to us right here. So I'm just going to copy this out. We'll come back over to our page, and I'm going to paste it in. We'll add the comma there, and there we go. Instead of a count, we actually want a list. We'll call it list of cats. And that list will be an array of objects. All right, and each object will have, let's see, we have title, message, and link. So let's say title and MSG and link. All right, so we have one item in our list of cats array. I'm going to copy that, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to paste it 4 times. All right, so we have 4 items now in our array called list of cats, and I'm just going to copy out the information. So cat, cats, hello world, and copy out the link. And I'll speed this up so you don't have to watch me copy and paste. Okay, so I've copied out each individual item into this list of cats down here, and let's go ahead and get rid of this. All right, and we're going to use a v4 directive. So if we jump up here, we can actually say v-4 equals, and put it in some parentheses, and we're going to say the first item in a v4 is going to be what you want to call each individual item in the list. So we're just going to call it item in list of cats. So we're getting a little squiggly, and it's saying custom elements in iteration require a v-bind key. So what a v-bind key is a unique ID. So we're going to say v-bind key equals, and since we've specified each item in the list of cats is going to be called item, we can say item dot title. So most of the time you're going to have an ID. Actually, let's just go ahead and add the ID. We'll say ID equals 1, comma, ID is 2, comma, ID is 3, comma, and ID is 4, comma. So let's switch this out, and we'll say that the key or the identifier is going to be the item ID. So we're good to go, and we're telling it that for each item, give it a unique key and use the item ID. Now we're passing in our title of cats, our MSG hello world, and our link. Let's go ahead and save this and see what it does. So it's just reproducing this. It reproduced it 4 times, so it's actually reading our list of cats. It knows there's 4 items, and it reproduced this component 4 times. The only problem is it used the static information right here, but we want to tell it to use the information in our list of cats. So what we can do is we can bind title to item title. So I went ahead and paused the video, and I wanted to point something out right here. If you noticed before, when I used v-bind key, Vue actually has shorthand syntax, which is you can drop the v-bind and just put the colon, which is what we did right here for title. We did colon title, and that is shorthand syntax for v-bind. So we're saying we're going to loop through. Each time we loop, we have this item and its item information. So title, item, title. Let's come back over here to MSG, and we're going to say MSG item MSG, and then for link, we'll get rid of that, and we'll set, we want to bind link, and we'll use link item link. So what we're saying is loop through our list of cats. Each individual thing we're going to call an item, and then we're binding the key to item ID. We're going to bind the title to the item title. We're binding MSG to the item MSG, and then we're binding the link to the item link. So I'm going to save this, and we're going to expect this to update with the correct information with our list of cats. So Command S to save, and there we go. We're using our data function. Our data returns a function, and in this we have our list of cats. Pretty cool. So we've actually reduced the amount of code up here. A lot of times in Vue, what we'll do is we'll put this out on a separate line to make it a little more readable. All right. And Command S to save. We didn't change anything. We're just making this a little more readable. And there we go. We're using the v-4 directive, and we're listing out our list of cats in individual items. Now, in the real world, chances are you might not have a list like this. You're probably going to have an API call that says, hey, grab me a list of cats, and you'll tell it to store the list right here. But for this example, I just wanted to show you how to do the v-4. Occasionally, you'll do it statically like this, where you'll just type in your list. but most of the time you're going to be hitting some type of API, requesting information, and then storing it in a list here for your card to use. And that's it for today's tutorial. We're gonna go ahead and dive in deeper as these go on. If you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe, hit the little bell icon so you get the notifications, and I'll see you in the next one.